Did you know freedom exists in a school book? Did you know madmen are running our prison within a jail, within a gale, within a white-free Protestant maelstrom? We're perched headlong in the edge of boredom. We're reaching for death on the end of a candle. We're trying for something that's already found us.
Welcome to Truman's Town Hall with your host, Matt Truman.
Hello, this is Matt Truman. Thank you for downloading this episode. Thank you for sharing with a friend. Today, we have a good podcast for you. I sat down with Mike Miller and we had a discussion. Mike Miller is on the Huber Heights City School Board. He's running for re-election, and there were some things I thought we all would like to know. I reached out to him. Mr. Miller, would you like to do a podcast? He said yes. When and what time? No preconditions. We just sat down, we talked. He answered the questions that I have. We discussed a few issues that we see. If it's not in the newspaper, maybe it's on the news, maybe it's discussions we have back and forth with our neighbors, whatever. We talk about it. If it affects the schools, we talked about it. And I do appreciate that. I do appreciate when folks do the podcast, so we all get to learn a little bit more from our city government. So that's what we got today. What you just heard was Jim Morrison, Music by the Doors, on the American Prayer album, and the track was titled Freedom Exists. I really like the beginning and the end of that track. Freedom does exist in a school book. Freedom exists in all books. It's amazing what we can learn, what we can do, how we can be entertained through books. And now we have the internet. Well, the Doors didn't have the internet in the 60s, but oh well. I like the end part. We're trying for something that's already found us. Because oftentimes, some of us, right, we're chasing dreams or we're chasing different things. But it's all right there. We're trying for something that's already found us. Pretty deep, huh? All right, Matt, get with the podcast. Okay, I will. All right. So we sat down at my house. I forgot folks were coming over to do the driveway, so it was, I was trying to get things squared away. There may be some background noise. Just forget about all that. I probably should have turned my fish tank off. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mike Miller. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here with Mike Miller, running for the Huber Heights City School Board. Mr. Miller, thank you for doing the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, family, all that good stuff.
So I've lived in Huber Heights almost my entire life, and I went to Huber Heights City Schools all the way from kindergarten until I graduated in 2000.
Nice.
Graduated from Wayne High School, and I've got 2 kids in the district currently.
Good.
I'm married, and we still reside in Huber. I operate a business out of Huber. I'm very invested in the community, as it were. I own a home here, and the house I own is less than a half a mile from the house I grew up in.
Nice.
So
hometown guy.
Yeah, hometown. I love Huber. I love the schools, and I want to see success there.
Right. So, now one thing that I saw was the Dayton Daily News questionnaire. Is there a reason why you didn't do that, or why didn't that come out?
So I didn't know about this questionnaire until after I had already seen it come out.
Okay.
And so that's where that is.
So that just slipped through the mail or whatever. So another question I would have about that is, on the ballot, you are on the ballot as G. Michael Miller.
Correct.
Is that so? A lot of folks know you as Mike Miller. So is there a reason why because When I usually don't go by Matthew when I put on when I ran for office way back in the day, 2015. I guess that's not way back in the day, but I did Matthew Truman. But I usually don't go by Matthew. It's either Matt or whatever. So
Mike is the name I go by,
right?
And G. Michael is more my formal name.
Okay.
And so I kind of did that based on when I look at other elections on ballots. You know, I see the full name of whatever candidate's there. So I went with my full legal name, what's on my license, and whatnot.
So just so folks know, Mike Miller, when they vote for G. Michael Miller, they're voting for Mike Miller, right?
Correct.
Let's see here. One question that I think a lot of folks would have, especially around the community, is how are we working to get the community and families more involved with our schools?
So we are devising ways to get families into schools more frequently. I know that our current superintendent is working with the senior center to try to get them in and maybe read with the first and second graders, which would bring active community involvement and invested interest there. And as far as families go, I think we need to have families that know the curriculum that's being taught.
Right.
I know a lot of people have issues with Common Core, and Common Core can be confusing. And I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, how do I figure this out?" I've told them, go into class. All of our schools are welcome to the public. The public's welcome.
Okay.
And they have to sign in and and whatnot.
There's tighter security.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're welcome to go in, and I encourage parents to go in and learn what they're teaching their kids.
So if a parent wanted to go in, so they just go up to the office, should they call ahead, email the teacher, anything like that? Or
they can. Okay. I mean, as a courtesy, it might be
Sure.
nice, but they don't necessarily have to.
Okay, just go up, say, hey, I want to sit in on this class, sign in, and then they
Correct.
can. Okay. Now, I did see somewhere that the Huber Heights Library has tutoring sessions, so if folks want to go there, they could probably check that out too. I don't know how many folks. I saw it on a post one place. Well, the entire Montgomery County Library is holding different tutoring sessions, but one of them is being held in Huber Heights, so that may be a good place for folks to look to. One thing that's very important is early childhood education. I know the first years of a kid's life is very important for their development. So what are you doing specifically to enhance early childhood education?
So I'm a hands-on kind of guy.
Okay.
I've been in the schools multiple times, and I've taken kids out personally and read with them there in the hallway to help them kind of stay up to speed with their peers. Because if they fall behind, like you said, if they fall behind in first, second, or third grade,
right,
6th or 7th, they're going to be struggling, and they're going to struggle the rest of their career, their elementary career and their school career.
Right.
And so a big push that we have is making sure that we have the proper staffing and the proper teachers, and we're gonna start hiring staff earlier. That way we can make sure we get the best qualified candidates that are out there, and retain those those teachers that are doing good things.
Good. Another thing, I just saw this yesterday. The Dayton Daily News had an article about changing the start times for school. No school before 8:30 a.m. This legislation was introduced by Ohio Senator Sandra Williams, who's a Democrat in Cleveland. So what are your thoughts on the state legislating for the local schools, and do you think that would be a good idea for Huber Heights?
So I don't think the state legislatures have any need to be in local politics.
Right.
They don't have any need to mandate what our schools do, what our city government does. they don't know our situation.
Right.
And the majority of them have no knowledge of education and what kind of things they're putting on teachers and staff. They look at it and they see a book and they're like, yeah, this works in California, let's make it do it here.
Right.
That doesn't work. Every district, every opportunity, every organization is a little bit different, and we need to be able to cater that accordingly. I don't think the state has any business being in local politics.
What all does this state? What all do they put on our local schools here in Huber Heights? They textbooks and isn't there a lot of weight put on us?
There is
from the state, right?
Yeah, most state testing. That's the big one.
Right.
That's the reason we have to start school earlier, because we got to get that testing in a timely frame,
Okay.
a timely manner. I don't think kids need to go to school to learn how to take a test.
Right.
Kids need to go to school to learn. Kids need a summer break so they can play and have fun.
And all kids learn differently.
Right.
So if you have a classroom of, say, 20 kids, all 20 of those kids are going to learn in a different way.
Correct.
So
Yeah, and so the state tries to make everybody cookie cutter, and we're not a cookie cutter society.
right. So what do you think folks could do to help combat some of the state with trying to overtake all the schools? Write their
representatives.
representatives, call them,
Yeah.
go up.
Tell them to give the power back to the cities.
Right.
Get the power back to the schools.
Okay. Let's see here. One of the big things that has been talked about, and the next couple of questions may be difficult. So there was the former athletic director, Jay Mitten. He left the schools, right? Am I right in that, or is he still in the schools, or what had? The way I think some are looking at it is he was either fired or let go, or how were you a part of that, and how did that work? And
So Jay is still a part of the school district.
okay, good.
And he was offered to stay on as head coach.
Okay,
He said no. He did not want to be head coach of the football program if he could not be at the high school, which is understandable.
sure.
He's, to my knowledge, he's at the middle school, and hopefully he's doing good things with those students there. I know Jay has always been strong in the sports and excited for Huber Heights.
Right.
And I was excited when the kids at the middle school got an opportunity to work with him. I think that's important for those kids. And I think it's important now he can mentor them for a longer period, not just the 4 years in high school, but hopefully starting in 2 years in middle school and all the way up.
So I know a lot of folks in the community were upset about him not being the head coach and all of that stuff. And I'm not trying to rehash things, but I think since you sat on the school board, you would have a little more knowledge of it, and those decisions came down to you guys. Why? Can you tell us why that decision was made and what happened?
So the decision to accept Jay Mittens' resignation from the athletic director position came down to a lot of things that legally I'm not necessarily allowed to discuss.
Okay.
Because it's not client attorney privilege, but it's something like that. It's confidential in nature.
Sure.
And
I don't want you to say anything that you're not supposed to. I just think some folks in the community, they wonder, why did that go down?
I think the biggest thing with Jay is to recognize that anytime somebody has been let go of a position in the district of Huber Heights.
Uh-huh.
They've